Today, I'm with Kristen Green. With over 25 years industry experience, Kristen is the Executive General Manager of the multi-award-winning Aquafit located in Sydney. An active contributor and thought leader in the industry, Kristen was recognised as the first Australian recipient of the prestigious Ursa Women Leader Award in 2018. In 2004, she was selected to deliver the startup business of Aquafit for the Campbelltown Catholic Club. Now, Aquafit is often cited as an example of industry best practice in Australia and is recognised as one of the most awarded fitness businesses in the country. Kristen has also worked at Fitness First, Smart Rehabilitation and Twins Gym Corrimal in a variety of roles, and Kristen was previous board member of Fitness New South Wales in 2008, 2009, and in 2006, Kristen was awarded Fitness New South Wales Award for Outstanding Contribution to the Industry. She also holds an MBA distinction in sports science. So I'm really pleased today to welcome Kristen Green. How are you going, Kristen?
I'm great. Thank you, David, for that incredible introduction. That's very flattering. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. And in fact, I did strip it right down because, yeah, I've seen your bio, and yeah, you've won a lot of accolades there. So yeah, you've obviously been doing some great work in the industry.
Yeah, thank you. It's certainly been over a long time as well, too. So it kind of really brings it home when you start talking about 25 years in the industry. It's probably a little bit longer than that, actually, but let's leave it at 25.
Yeah, good stuff. So, all right, we'll jump straight into it. So what does
Yeah, sure.
well-being mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's always an interesting question, but I think my approach to well-being is that I look at it as a holistic approach. I mean, the different elements, it's to me, it's all about that mind, body, wellness and encompassing obviously the usual things of, physical, spiritual, and also social. So I think when I think about well-being, I try to look at it through the lens of being what is optimal well-being. Because, well-being can fluctuate, and the way that I see it is that well-being will sort of ebb and flow over a lifetime and certainly over periods of time, depending upon what you're going through. But it's also about trying to find a sense of balance for me, and it's across all of those elements. So if one or more of those is kind of out of sync, then I think we struggle with the whole well-being. So it only takes a dip in one of those to actually change my sense of well-being. And I think it's also around probably more broader speaking, it's about having a sense of purpose as well too. So it's about having all of our ducks in a row with those kind of elements of well-being, but it's also about having a sense of positivity, feeling good about yourself, and also knowing where you are at the moment feels right, that you're kind of in the flow, I guess, around what you're doing, and just really having a sense of satisfaction and purpose around what you are and where you are in life.
Yeah. So you talk about purpose and balance and positivity. What are some of the strategies that you use to keep all that kind of in check?
Yeah, I think if I'm honest, I'm probably a work in progress. I'm not
I
sure
think we
that
all are, aren't we?
I don't know that I've actually got a secret formula that it's all worked out. And honestly, sometimes I do it well and sometimes I don't do it well. But no doubt the main elements of that is around nutrition and exercise. And then I think also probably, there's an element of mindfulness in there, which is also, very important to me as well too. So personally, I suffer from an autoimmune disease, so I have Hashimoto's. So I have an element of inflammation in my body, I guess, and only recently, obviously, I have to manage that as much as I can.
Right.
So in doing that, it's obviously through the, again, I have to approach it from a holistic perspective. It's like, sure, there are some medications that will help with that, but also the big driver in that is around my stress levels and then also around my diet and making sure that I can tell the difference when I'm not quite doing what I should be doing and sort of feeling as well as what I should. So, that's really important to me to just make sure that I'm continually aware of that. So nutrition is very, very important in managing that. And I think also from a mental well-being as well too, I'm not immune to feeling anxious at times around certain parts in life, and certainly have had my share of stress. And I
Mm,
think that kind of, for me, what helps is obviously having that mindfulness. And what has worked for me is using a Headspace app to be
mm,
able to just take some time out and just really just take a little bit of time out at the beginning of the day to really think about it and be mindful. And I guess overarching all of that is what drives me is having what I call an attitude of gratitude. So I really believe in treating people the way that I would like to be treated, and having genuine respect for people. So, and I think just being grateful, for our
mm.
blessings and where we are, I think definitely goes a long way. So rather than taking things for granted, that mindfulness attitude of basically taking a little bit of time out to reflect. Journaling works well as part of that process. But there are a couple of little tools that I find really useful just to keep me in track, I guess.
Yeah, sounds like you've got some really cool, strategies in there to make sure you're looking after your well-being. And I think your body tells you, doesn't it, if you're not doing the right thing, or
100%.
over
Yeah.
over a period of time. And a lot of us sometimes, push it down and don't listen. And sometimes you kick the can down the street. Oh, it doesn't really matter. I can continue what I'm doing. But I think the stuff that you talk about is really interesting, and particularly the mindfulness. So is it the Take 10, the mindfulness app that
Yep.
you use? Is that so you do 10 minutes every morning, or?
Yeah, like as I said, I am a work in progress. So some days and sometimes I'm better than others. But yeah, I do use the Headspace app, and the other
Mm,
thing that there's a couple of different applications in there. So I've used that particularly when I'm more stressed. I think that that's a great tool. And then there's also at the other end of the day, I also use there's a sleep module as well, so I can listen to that before I go off to sleep, which is just relaxing, and just preparing the body for sleep as well. So yeah, I have subscribed to that for a long time, and I find that it's been incredibly useful over a period of time.
yeah, good stuff. Okay, well, in terms of Campbelltown Catholic Club and Aquafit, I had the pleasure of coming on site a couple of months ago, and yeah, terrific place. And we'll get into that a little bit later in terms of my experience there. But where do you
Mhm.
see Aquafit in the health and wellness system?
Yeah, look, I suppose to look at that, we just revisit and sort of look at the reason why Aquafit was formed. So we are, as you
Mm,
said at the outset, we're owned by the Campbelltown Catholic Club.
mhm.
So I was very fortunate to be able to have the opportunity to build the business and open that for the club, nearly 17 years ago now. And
Wow.
I think how it evolved was basically because the club members were actually wanting some kind of recreation facility, which kind of started out as a pool and really grew from there.
Mm,
And then obviously when we opened, it was a resounding success from the word go in terms of meeting the needs of the community there. So we had already, I guess, an interested potential membership base of that of the club that showed a lot of faith before we actually opened. So I think the club industry generally is a little bit different to your mainstream fitness centres, and there are a lot of good quality fitness centres that are owned by recreational registered clubs. And I think the difference is that generally there's an older demographic that are part of the membership base of registered clubs. And we certainly found that when we've got a broad mix of people as part of our demographic. But one thing that I think we do particularly well, and it hasn't been by design, it's rather been by default, I think, is that we've attracted a lot of the more mature adults to our centre.
mm,
And currently, I think at the moment, probably about 50% of our members are over the age of 45. And again, like I said, by design. But I think where we're meeting a need within our community is that we're really providing a non-intimidating, non-threatening, welcoming, high service environment. At least that's our aim, to basically be able to embrace everyone, when they come in. And I think as a result of that, although there are some great facilities in our area, I think one of the points of difference that we have in terms of our give back to the community is that we really embrace these people, and we're part of their lives, and we form part of their community. And as a subsection of that, one of the programs that we've had running for 13 years now is what's called our Living Stronger program. And currently we've got about 130 people involved and enrolled in that program, which has been running continuously since the 2007. And one of the great things about that is that we have a group of people that come in and exercise. They pay, I think, $6 a week, $6 a workout. So they come in twice a week. They're not members of Aquafit, but they're basically part of this subsidised program where they can meet. And we really embrace them, and we try and provide every opportunity. We give them certificates of achievement. They have a Christmas party. A lot of our instructors get together after their workout in the cafe and share a coffee and a chat. And I think, again, something very special like that. So it kind of fits nicely, I think, within the umbrella of what we do. And I love these people. They're incredibly, and although it's over 55, the age group is well and truly, the average age is well and truly over 55. And we have a great community of people there that support each other and care about each other. And we really love to see them coming in. And I think, the fact that our environment and our culture and our instructors make them feel comfortable is testament to the fact that, I think we had a 10-year anniversary, and there was over 30 of them that had been part of that program continuously for 10 years. So I think that's something very important, where I find that, the business of Aquafit, but also the program of Living Stronger, fits really within the community to meet that need for older aging adults.
And what's the difference in the difference of why, you've been able to keep those members engaged for like 13 years, because I suppose it just becomes so much part of their life and so
It
important
does,
in
yeah.
everything that they do, that's, sounds like it's so important for them. What's the magic of you being able to do that?
I guess I would put it down to it's a culture thing. I think it's the people that we have that are part of our team. We're very careful to make sure, as much as we can, that they embrace our values and that they understand what we're all about. And I think to me, a business is all about having great people. Because team is happy and they love coming to work and they're doing a great job, then your members and your customers will really embrace that, and they'll feel that. I think what we do a little bit differently is that we have a genuine care and concern for people. I think a lot of businesses pay lip service to that, but we make a great deal about trying to get to know their name. It's a two-way thing, because they want to know our receptionist all about them, and our instructors as well too, which is lovely. But we really try and engage them. And like I said, this ethos of genuine care and compassion about these people, it serves a purpose, so that for them, I think the connection also that they have is not something that we facilitated, but I think the connection that they have between our instructors and the groups is, it becomes part of a family for them, that they miss each other, they visit each other in hospital, they call someone if they haven't been there, and I think we facilitate that. But I think the magic is in the group itself and the connection that they make, and we provide the facility, we provide the instructors, and we certainly do facilitate that need. But I think it's all about the people. And I think the fact that they're really, at the time that we started the program, there wasn't a program like it in the area. I think we really kind of saw an opening and an opportunity to kind of provide a program to develop from there is really testament to the longevity of what we do.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic demonstration of social capital and connection and community. And, that's what these facilities are there for, aren't they? And the fact that you're saying, people visit others when they're in hospital and stuff, it just shows you your Aquafit can be, or a community centre or facility can be the catalyst for all those, that ripple effect, which is amazing. So,
yeah, and we do the same. We actually, one of our members, Ray and his wife Decima, have been part of the program since the get-go, and they're lovely. They're kind of like your typical, feel like your grandparents. They're lovely people, and it's incredible people. But he suffered some health concerns, and 3 of our leadership team went and physically visited him in hospital, and he was just beside himself. He was so excited to see us, and and that's the kind of thing that you can't. I can't make that compulsory. I can't say to people, you must go and do that. It's just kind of that, what I call that gotta wanna. I say to our team, you've got
What's
to
that?
wanna,
Oh, you gotta wanna.
I say you've got to wanna, yeah.
Yeah.
And I say to them, you've really got to wanna, but they do. It's
Yeah.
just an understanding and almost unwritten understanding that that's just what we do, because we genuinely care about their welfare and want to see them well and back at Aquafit as soon as they can.
Yeah, and showing that empathy and compassion. And I think with the older generation, from my experiences of managing facilities, you've got to put the time in, and and
Yeah.
have the conversations, because sometimes they want to chat, and they want to know about what you're doing, and that's really important. So you've probably touched on it a little bit with the culture piece, but you were recently featured in the Australasian Leisure Management magazine, which was a fantastic article, and you shared 10 ways for managers to navigate through these times of change, thinking about COVID, etc. But can you give your top three? And I know it's difficult because you should, you wrote about 10, but yeah, if there was three in particular, yeah, what
Yeah.
would they be?
Yeah, look, I honestly think I can definitely come up with three, but I think it comes back to one, because I think one encompasses everything. And to me, I am a bit of a culture queen, and culture is something that I'm incredibly passionate about. And so I would say that culture is obviously the overarching principle that is transferable anywhere, across any business, across any organization, but certainly in these COVID times. And the number one thing about the culture is the people. And, I mentioned a lot of different points around the people. It's about, understanding where they are in terms of their mental health during times of change. But it's just genuinely engaging with them, and sort of having people that are part of your team that understand the way that we do things, and that they want to buy into that, not because they have to, but because they want to. And I'm always a great advocate for making sure that you hire hard, because then you manage easy. So it's really making sure we've got the right cultural fit. And I think during times of challenge, like we've been through with COVID, that if you have a strong organisational and an inclusive culture, then it becomes a little bit easier to ride the tough times together. But certainly, I think overarching it's that, because culture at its essence, from my way of thinking, is all about people. It's people at the centre of everything that you do.
Mm,
And I guess second to that is really about resilient leadership. And again, leadership is another big piece of culture, but being a resilient leader and knowing that in times of change, people are looking for support, they're looking for direction. They're turning to you to kind of have the answers that sometimes that you don't. So if we tie into where we started, about the whole well-being, is that it's important and critical as a leader that you do look after your own well-being, because
mm,
if you're not looking after you, then you can't then sort of support the team. It's that whole sort of you basically can't manage with a glass half full. You really do need to have a full cup to be able to manage a team and have that resilient leadership, and being able to um, paint a picture, and be able to kind of be optimistic and positive when sometimes everything's against you, but forge a journey forward. So I think being resilient and being able to show the way for your team is really, really important. And then I guess the third point, again, it's also part of culture, is just the other big piece, which is about communication. Because if you don't have good communication, if your team don't have a clear understanding of their roles and responsibilities, and they're not held accountable, then really during times of challenge, then things are going to be incredibly difficult. But it's just really important to maintain clear communication, to stay in touch with people. Over this time, we have our own Facebook group. We had some Zoom meetings with the team. We really, we were out of the business. The team was away for close to 15 weeks for us with the COVID shutdown.
mm.
Um, so it was really important that we stayed engaged with our team over that time, and communicated what we were doing and what was happening. Again, because if people aren't informed, they will just form their own conclusions, and they may not necessarily be the right ones. So,
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for that. And with the culture bit, I can definitely attest to my experience when I walked around your facility, and I observed members coming up to you, and you knew their name, they knew yours, and your staff were always engaged. And when I think about culture, for me, it's about the feeling of a place.
yeah, absolutely.
The
Yeah.
atmosphere, you can tell,
Mm,
and
mhm.
it's the little interactions between staff, and helping each other. And so I can see why your facility's been so successful, because it you know
Yeah, thank you.
people is
Yeah, it's definitely a work in progress. As I always
mm,
say, it's like culture's not something that you set and forget. It's just
mm,
requires continual monitoring and adjusting and
Mm.
managing the whole time. But I certainly agree. You can feel, you get a sense of a place the minute you walk in the door. It's like your favorite restaurant. You kind of go, yeah, I feel welcome here. I feel good. So
Yeah.
culture sometimes is experienced as a feeling. For many of us, but driving that, I think, is something that, it has to be managed. It has to, all of these things come into play. But yeah, to me, again, it comes down to the people, and the success of a great business in my mind is always
Mm.
about having a great, positive, inclusive culture.
Yeah, people first. And you talk about resilience and communication as your other ones that you wanted to pick. And what if you think about COVID, I'm sure you'd
Mm.
had to show resilience and communicate often and consistently with your members. I mean, how has Aquafit bounced back from the lockdown?
Yeah, we probably similar, like to most other clubs globally, from what I'm reading. It's been a slow return. It's starting to, over the last probably 6 to 8 weeks, it's starting to show levels of recovery. We still have a lot of members on hold that are still, and I think that's just the trend globally, that some people don't feel comfortable to come back despite everything that we've communicated around how safe the facility is, and the measures and the COVID plan that we have in place.
Yeah.
Um, some people are just waiting for a vaccine; they just won't. But interestingly, it's a lot of our older members that have come back who people would kind of return, but the majority of them have returned, and probably wanted to come back sooner than we delayed bringing them back until a little while, but they were like chomping at the bit to come back. But yeah, we're showing signs of positive recovery. It's still early days. I think we're monitoring numbers. The constraints for us at the moment are around the 20 capacity for classes, which is
Mm.
really difficult. And all of our class bookings are through our app. So we're struggling with a little bit of member feedback around that, and trying to. I think the biggest challenge for us right now is managing expectations, and that's our expectations, but also the expectations of our members, because it's quite funny that despite everything, well, not funny, but despite everything that we're doing, it's kind of, there's a sense that we're imposing the constraints rather than the government. It's kind of like, and then we've got to go back and go, no, actually, it's New South Wales Health that's put these restrictions in place, not
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
And there's a sense of, what we're finding. It's been a very challenging time for staff, and particularly, this week we've certainly experienced a kind of a sense that our staff feel like they're in the war zone a little bit, because people are lashing out, people are being unreasonable despite everything that we do. And I think it's just a human reaction, I think, to that feeling of being constrained, and people acting out of fear. And I have to manage that, because we're all
Mm.
sort of feeling a little challenged, and we love our members, but we're also getting our share, as everybody else is, I'm sure, of
Mm.
people that are got unreasonable expectations about what we can deliver under the constraints that we're operating under.
Yeah, and obviously you as a leader, you need to make sure your staff are, looked after and nothing
Yeah.
goes, crosses the line. But yeah, as you can
Mm.
educate as much as you want, so obviously some people will look things from different perspectives.
That's right. Yeah,
So
yeah.
you,
It's a good time to try and bring everybody together, because behind closed doors, once our team is dealing with some tough
mm,
issues, they kind of need to vent, but we also need to create that safe space that we can all deal with those challenges, and again look after their own mental health, because people are feeling, they're feeling deflated, because they
mm,
know that they can't do any more to help. And we really come from a culture of really wanting to do everything that we can to keep our members happy, and create this place for them. But
mm,
it's hard for us when we feel that we've let them down as well. So
mm.
managing that, and how our team are responding to that is also a challenge.
Yeah, yeah, sure. And what about occupancy year on year? From obviously you got restraints with group fitness and 20 participants in there, but yeah, roughly where you at from last year?
Yeah, we opened sort of fairly strong. I think we're currently sitting, I would say, about around about 80%,
Mhm.
roughly. We sort
Mhm.
of started off, we've grown a little bit from, I think, 70, 75 up to about 80%. So
Mhm.
that's not unreasonable. We did have the cancellations when we sort of reopened weren't massive in terms of, considering we've been closed for 3 months, are probably realistic in terms of an average across that time. But, you know, we don't want anyone to cancel, but we also, you know, understand that we're trying to encourage, we're doing a lot of calling, trying to get our members that are on hold, trying to encourage them to come back. We're calling people that haven't yet visited the centre.
Yeah.
So we're being quite proactive about that and trying to re-engage and give people a reason to come back and, you know, be part of what we're doing.
Yeah, cool. Well, sounds like you're moving in the right direction anyway, which is
We're
great.
certainly trying.
Yeah. And one of the things always find fascinating with, you know, franchises and fitness businesses, you know, the fitness first of the world, etc. Anytime Fitness is obviously you know, it's about health and fitness and getting people well and active and all those other benefits. But obviously they're there to, you know, make money as well, and that's all good. But how could we, you know, how can we get more people active from like the lower socioeconomic areas?
Mm. To me, I think it's probably about two things, and that's access and affordability. I think they're the two drivers. I think it needs to be a collaborative approach, and like you highlighted, is that, you know, there needs to, for it to be successful long term, I think there's got to be some commercially driven incentives, as much as there's you know, businesses that you know, may be more altruistic and happen to want to buy into more the diversity inclusion type piece. I think that from a pure business perspective, there is also, like I said, some of the larger clubs that what's in it for me, and why should we kind of thing. So I think the only way we can really address that type of thing is one, to have a willingness to be able to want to engage that, and that's a bit of a mind shift, because you know, that, again, getting back to, you got to want to, it has to be something that people do want to engage with, and they've got to make it part of a strategic initiative for the business to want to do that. But I think it has to be done at grass levels, and probably community facilities do that a little bit better than some of the larger brands, like you said.
Yeah.
But I think the need is huge, and I think the affordability, of course, you know, there is a huge portion of that lower socioeconomic, you know, cohort, I think, that probably, you know, the affordability issue is really the main constraint before that they can actually access the services and facilities of a commercial facility. And I think understanding, and it's a whole bunch of things. I think it's the culture of the business in wanting to embrace these people, about being non-judgmental. But then I think, you know, at the end of the day, I think it's still going to be an economic driver that's going to make a difference in terms of providing some kind of subsidy or level of, you know, I suppose some kind of incentive to really assist in addressing that need.
Yeah, because, you know, I've picked low socioeconomic areas, but there's a whole bunch of target groups, you know,
Yeah.
disability and women and girls, or the indigenous,
Mm.
cold communities, etc. And I think you touching on your point around community facilities, and I go a stretch further in terms of like council facilities, and there's contracts there, and, you know, then the specifications, and there's certain criteria and deliverables that private operators might need to deliver on. So, you know, it's part of what the expectations are. Do you think we could come up with like a national framework for, you know, the clubs, or through Fitness Australia, or where they, you know, they had to provide certain subsidies at certain times, or groups for different target groups? Would that be something possible in terms of access and inclusion?
I would like to I'd like to think so. I really believe that's what has to happen. It has to be something that's done strategically and part of a bigger framework. And I think if all the stakeholders come together and you know, kind of meet that need and can get in the room and look at a strategy around that, including you know, what are the deliverables, what are the outcomes, and, you know, as we know, it's part of this whole you know, primary healthcare issue in terms of kind of preventative, particularly at an earlier stage. So if there's the opportunity to do that, I think that's probably the only way it's going to be addressed. I mean, it could be addressed locally piecemeal, and I'm sure it is through some of the initiatives, but for us to be kind of looking at it as a larger, more broader perspective, I think there's got to be some serious lobbying done. There has to be some, all of the stakeholders in the room, and I think, definitely Fitness Australia could be something, that certainly they are sort of having the ears of government at the moment with regard to some of these COVID initiatives. So I think if we had the right stakeholders in the room, I think it could definitely happen, but we certainly need to be a little bit more proactive around, the urgency and the importance of it, for sure.
Yeah, and then maybe the operators, commercially they could still make the money, but it's more of a national health service, through government, that everybody gets access to these facilities. So yeah, really interesting. And in terms of chronic conditions, and I think 1 in 2 Australians have got one. If you could nudge the system in you could nudge part of the system to improve the well-being of Australians, what could that be?
Yeah, I think it probably ties in a little bit to what we are just talking about. It's around the concept that exercise is medicine, and I think we really need serious acknowledgement of the role that facilities and exercise professionals play in the role of preventative health. And we're facing a lot of challenges around chronic health, as you said there. And one of the things I suppose that I'm particularly passionate about is ageism and active aging. And I think I would love to see, because we know obviously with older adults, they've got usually multiple health conditions, and we've got a rapidly aging population, but our population is also living longer as well. So, it would be great if we could live longer, but also with better health conditions as well too. So I think if we could be taken seriously from the government's perspective in terms of the important role that we do at a grassroots level of, some incredibly talented people out there, and that we could be rewarded and recognised in that way, then we can certainly go a long way, because, we know that there's, as we've discussed before, there's a limited number of dollars that can be invested into what we're doing, but more has to happen on the preventative health side. And if we can catch some of these conditions early, diabetes is one, for example. We know that there's a preventative option there if we look at lifestyle. Certainly we can do a lot more around that. So I think I'd like to see the change of the industry being taken seriously as a professional industry, and as a professional industry that can make a difference to the health of all Australians.
Yeah.
And tying into that philosophy that exercise really is medicine, and we need to put some initiatives in place, and we can produce an economic outcome which will eventually save the government money if we can be engaged and treated professionally and understood of the roles that we play.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's about advocacy, and if we invest now, we can save later down the track. And
Yeah.
I think we're moving in that direction, but we've got a little way to go. So that brings me to the last question. So it's gone very quickly.
It always does.
It does. But where do you see yourself personally in the system, and how do you contribute and influence it?
Yeah, well, I think I wear a number of different hats, to be honest. I think, currently in my role at Aquafit as the general manager there, obviously, we're part of making a difference at a community level.
Yeah.
I think my longevity in the industry and the fact that when I speak at conferences, I love speaking about active aging. So I think being able to raise awareness, out through my network, and being able to educate people all around the world about the need to, have an active lifestyle, and particularly, the need for resistance training and, in older adults. So to me, I think there's that opportunity. So I think by the fact that we deliver older adult programs, that Aquafit is making a difference in that space. Although like I said, we have a broad range of of programs and, age and demographic as part of our centre. I think the most important part, I think, is around that older adult piece for me. And that's something that I'm particularly passionate about. And tying in with that, I think addressing the the issues around inclusion, inclusivity, and also around ageism and some of the stereotypes and stigma that's attached there. So needing to address that. So I think through speaking and through writing and through being passionate about that, raising awareness and getting more people involved and engaged. So for me, that's probably an advocacy piece as well as an education piece as well. I've recently been appointed to a board down here in Wollongong where I live, the Illawarra Diggers, which is an aged facility, which is incredible because it's a lovely synergy around the need to look at where the industry is going in our rapidly aging population. So
Yeah.
I think I can offer a different perspective there. So I think I wear, like I said, I wear a number of different hats, but I think, raising awareness and continually trying to adopt a leadership position around this, particularly around culture, and not just organisational culture, but generally just making a difference in terms of the way that we lead our teams and we lead our businesses. I think is something that I'm actively trying to do.
Well, you are, and I know you're highly respected and a role model for many. And I really like that you're focusing in on the older population because, as you say, the statistically have more than one chronic condition, and that we are living longer, and it's making sure that when we're living longer, we're living healthier and not with illness, which is very important, and then obviously has an impact on and a health burden, on the health system.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
Well, we've come to the end, but I wanted to give you the opportunity, Kristen, if you wanted to add anything else.
No, I just wanted to say thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to to have a platform and to speak with you in more detail about that. And again, thank you for coming out and visiting Aquafit and seeing what we're all about. I really appreciate it, and I know the team. We're very excited to meet you as well. So no, just thank you. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. So just want to wish you the best for the rest of the year. We're nearly at the end of 2020. So
we're almost there. It's been one heck of a ride.
It certainly has. It certainly has.
Yeah.
So well, thanks again for your time, Kristen. And
my pleasure. Thank you. And keep up the great work, David. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, you too. I'll see you soon.
Take care. Bye for now.
Bye.